everyone, and welcome back to my monthly crafting and talking show, Craftversations, where this month my guest is the very handsome, the very charming,
and the unshaven,
Curt Mega! Yay! You probably remember Curt from Glee, from his series Buffering, and the more recent Spies Are Forever, that I was also in.
You were in that?
Yeah, I was.
That was the first time we worked together.
I know, and I've known you for many years now.
That's weird.
It is weird.
That's weird that it took us that long to do something.
Yeah, but I'm glad it finally happened.
Me too.
Yeah, it was great.
But I miss it.
Yeah, me too. Today we are going to make mugs. We're not going to make them. They're already made, as you can see. We're going to decorate mugs, so if you want to join in, here's what you will need. Some assorted mugs. I got these for $1 whole a piece at Dollar Tree. You will need some Sharpie oil-based paint pens. You need these so that the decorations will not wash off on your mugs. And you will need some letter stickers of varying sizes and shapes, whatever you prefer. And a Curt.
And me. You need me.
You will need
I'll
a
come
Curt
to your house.
in your home to do this crap. That's it. Super easy and simple. So, shall we?
Yes.
Let's get to crafting.
I
Which
feel like
mug
you
would
know me
like?
really well because coffee is one of my favorite things in the world. So.
I actually secretly have been wanting to do this craft for a long time, and sometimes I ask my guests what they would like to do, and nobody ever picked it. So it's just like, we're just doing this.
I'm so glad because I would have had no idea. I'm going to go with red.
Great. There you go.
Color
I'm gonna
passion.
Whoa, there you go. Okay. I'm going to start with blue. So we will pick some letters or whatever you want to put on your mug, and we'll go from there. So, Curt.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good.
How's it going?
I'm good. I'm quite tired. Although yesterday
too.
was my first day off.
Yeah?
57 days. That's a completely self-imposed though, because I did have days off. But then I would do things like go to London or do a project with somebody, which I love.
Yesterday was your first day to just like chill.
Yeah. So I literally
That's really
slept till
insane.
1:30.
And that's nice.
And then we played board games, and that's all I did.
Oh,
that's all I did. I'm going to do a spy theme mug, and I'm going to put 007.
That's amazing! I'm going to make one for my friend Anne because it's her birthday this month. Well, I'm glad.
Are you?
I'm good. I'm also fairly busy these days. Since Spies ended, it's been all po party all the time, which has been great, and also fairly stressful.
Sure.
But it's okay. It's like a stress that I enjoy, if that makes sense. I'm happy to be stressed in these ways.
I've said this before, but it's so true. Few people I know in LA, I feel like you and people that you like attract around you get more cool stuff made. Like Joey and Corey and Brian are the same,
Sure.
but I feel like I've been here for a long time where I didn't know anybody like that, and I've been so inspired by you, by them, by the Tin Can guys.
Yeah. Thanks.
That was my dream when I moved out here, was to like work with people who like
Stuff.
didn't wait around for people to, I don't know, hire them or whatever, and just said, let's do our own thing. And I love that you guys do it. It's awesome.
Thanks. It's kind of a ruse. I don't know.
I know. Trust me, I know.
I don't feel like I actually do that much, but I guess I do. I also don't give myself enough credit.
That happened in like London. People were coming up and they were like, you're just so busy. You have all these projects and whatever.
You also give that off very much so. And
I guess it's true. Maybe we should like learn to adopt it, or accept it.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm just like, well, but I had 4 auditions that I didn't book.
Yeah, exactly.
But then I realized that people don't care about that.
No.
They care about the,
I also this year, we're getting into the deep career talk real fast. I also this year have just found so much happiness in these projects, mainly Spies and Po Party. Of course, I didn't like create Spies myself, but just like these projects that
you did on some level. That character was worked on a page,
fulfilling,
and you didn't have like a template of like, oh, this was originated by, so you did create it.
That's true. Just like having these projects, as opposed to just like waiting around for auditions and being really unhappy with like where my audition life is, and it's made a huge difference in my general like happiness. I've been far happier this year than I was last year for sure.
I hit a moment, I think it was about a year and a half ago, and it was post Glee, and I felt like for years, once that ends, it's just gonna be the world. I don't know what I thought. The world's gonna open up.
I thought that too after Lizzie Bennett. 100%.
And then nothing happened, and so I hit like a year, and I was working the worst job I've ever worked. I was working at a balloon delivery company. I was delivering balloons to really rich, like not just like kind of rich, but like
Super
Kobe
rich?
Bryant's house and
Oh
stuff
my
like that.
gosh.
Which I guess on some level was interesting to like go into, like, I was like Reese Witherspoon's house, and like you'd walk in to a delivery and you'd be like, oh hi, incredibly famous person, here's
Right.
your $3,000 bouquet.
Oh,
But
jeez.
that was, I literally had this moment where I was delivering to James Cameron's house.
Oh my god.
And all the respect to James Cameron, I never met the guy, but his assistant pulled me aside before I walked in and was like, if you see Mr. Cameron, do not make eye contact. Do not speak to him. You place the bouquet in the corner, and then I was like, I can't do this. And I quit. And that was just like a big moment for me of like, I'm not gonna just work a job waiting around for someone to like let me be part of that league or whatever, you know?
I see you have your letters. You can take whatever markers you desire. Some of them aren't open yet because I just bought them. Feel free to open them and get going on your dots. What do I want to do?
So how does this work?
You don't have to dot. You can do whatever, but you can take a marker and then you just like do it around or like trace it or like whatever you want, and then we'll take off the letters. Sorry, I didn't really explain it.
Gotcha.
We'll take off the letters and it'll be there. I had this realization point during Spies a little bit where I was like, oh, like those of us who are actively creating our art, like we're the ones that are going to turn into like the Judd Apatows and the Duplass brothers, and like, you know what I mean? Not necessarily saying like that's the trajectory we'll be on, but like those people just made what they wanted to make.
Well, I think that was a big epiphany for me with Amy Poehler, because I my day job is I teach at a studio, so I've really started to have this sort of second perspective on things as I'm talking to young artists and trying to encourage them while dealing with my own.
Sure.
But at the same time, like, I started really researching a lot of artists that had done that. Like you said, like a lot of artists that made their own way. And I guess you've read her book, right?
Yeah.
And like realizing
She's
like
so awesome.
This massive thing that we now know as like UCB, and like Amy Poehler's whole kind of brand came out of just like 4 friends who were like just met in Chicago and were doing comedy together.
Yeah.
When nobody cared and nobody was watching. Right. And I thought, wait, why? Yeah, we can do that.
Right.
Like, why? There's literally no reason we can't. I think it's so easy to look at people like that and just think, oh, I want them to hire me. And it's like, well, and that'd be cool, but maybe we could be our own thing.
Exactly.
That's what I feel like. I don't know. I feel like I'm so blessed in the last year to get to work with people that I think are really. It's not just about working with people I think are going to make it, but I feel like people who really love it, that inspire me and remind me, oh, this is why I love doing this thing. Mm-hmm, I forget sometimes.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah, I think, it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget because acting is sad and makes you sad and it's really hard. And
well, acting's not.
Well,
for me,
sure.
The
actually being on set and doing stuff is fun.
The process of trying to work and make a living at it is the thing that... Because when I started doing theater, I was like 12, and it was just, I couldn't do enough of it. Like, I wasn't making a dime. Nobody was making any money. Right. It was free. And all I could think about was, what show am I going to do next? Right. And, and I think getting back to that has been just... Yeah.
It's important.
It healed my emotional, it's healed my heart.
Aww. It just is so, it's not even easy to get caught up in that stuff. It's like impossible not to, because you're trying to make a living and you're like trying to have a career, and you see people around you doing certain things that you like are like, why isn't that happening for me?
I feel like I'm gonna mess this. Is this?
You're doing great.
Oh, great.
Yeah, you're doing so good. You can do it however you want.
I'm gonna be honest. When you first said,
how do you feel about crafting?
When you first said, well, first off, I was like, I want to do a craft thing, and then I thought, wait a minute, I'm terrible at crafts. So then I thought, maybe I shouldn't.
I love it.
And you're so good at crafts.
No, I'm not. I did a test run of this craft, I'm going to be honest with you guys, and it turned out just horribly. Just atrociously.
So you literally just go around the edge of it?
Mm-hmm. You don't have to, but that's what I'm going to do, and create like a lot of dots so it like creates a silhouette of the letters.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to make sure that the letters, some places they don't want to stick down next to the mug, which then creates an issue when you take it off. So try and, I messed up already. Try and get the letter to stay down. No, I love having people on the show who aren't like natural crafters. It's fun. Also, sometimes people are like, I'm bad at crafting, and then they kill it. They make the most amazing thing ever. So you just don't even know your full potential.
My thoughts with like, so I have a deep appreciation for like craftiness, and I love like when I walk into someone's home that like really has that skill. I'm like, I love it. So I have like a deep appreciation for it, but I've always struggled. And if my mom watches this, my mom tried, like, my mom is a very crafty person, and maybe this is where it comes from. I would never be happy with things if they weren't exactly perfect. Sure. And I get really, now I don't care, but back when I was a kid, I get so frustrated and so mad, and I just, like, I didn't like coloring, I didn't like...
Really?
Like, because I always wanted to, like legitimately color like outside the lines, like legitimately, like I'd want to like go doodle on a page, and I'd get in trouble in like the nursery, and they'd be like, no, you have to, and like that so on some level, like doing artsy things has always just felt like, oh, I'm not good enough at that.
That's not true.
My first job out of college, I worked at a theater for years and years and years as a children's theater, just doing shows. And my first job out of college, because I'd done so much tech theater there, I got hired as the tech director. And I got hired to do lighting design and set design. So for like 2 years, I didn't go to college. I was working at a theater doing lighting and set.
Oh, I did not know that.
And I found a whole, like, I found that I was pretty good at that. And I found a new passion for creating and crafting. But I think it was because I love theater so much. Everything felt like it was for a vision. Right. You know what I mean? I was like, this is this color because we want to evoke whatever. Right. Whereas, like, I think when I craft for myself, sometimes I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this. And then I get a little frustrated if it's not.
You gotta have a purpose to
I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, sure it does. That's really interesting. I just think it's fun. I enjoy it. It's also semi-therapeutic. I found... when you're, like, used to running around like crazy all the time, and then you sit down and just, like, work on something detail-oriented, it's kind of nice.
I think that's me with writing. I have a lot of people ask me, like, why do you stay up so late writing? Like, I saw you, you were, like...
Yeah, you're a night owl.
And I, like, have tried to explain to people, like, when I start writing, it's not like, oh, I gotta get this done. Whenever it's, like, a project I'm really, interested in, I'll write till 4 a.m. and not even realize it. I'll literally, because that kind of feels like I'm doing a puzzle or I'm making something. Totally. I mean, in a final draft document, but
that's awesome.
To figure it out makes me kind of feel like, oh, this is my arts and crafts, and then I'm like, poor Kim. I always like wake her up and I'm like, read this, read it. What do you think? And
do you really wake her up?
Sometimes.
Oh my goodness. I have had similar feelings on just doing creative projects or editing or something.
Editing, like, video? Do you enjoy that?
Yeah, I don't hate it.
I have recently I started doing these, speaking of, I guess, crafting, I started doing these little not short films, but, like,
I love
clips.
Those. And I get really excited when I'm in them.
Yeah. But the legitimate reason I started doing it was I was trying to learn how to edit better. I maxed out iMovie, just maxed out its potential, and so I'd gotten Premiere, and I was really struggling. I wanted to like get better at it because I'm trying to make my own stuff, and I got so frustrated downloading like demos of like Premiere's like tutorial. Here's like a bald eagle flying, cut it together the way we tell you, and I just same with like I couldn't do it because it felt like I was being told how to do it. Right. So my friend figure it out. My friend is a DP. He's like, dude, just start filming anything you think is interesting, and then see if there's a story there. And I was like, well, where do I put it? And I couldn't think of anything. And then I thought, wait a minute. I was like, wait, Instagram does video. I was like, why? I use these things to do like stupid pictures. Like, why not? Use them. And so I literally just started doing that to teach myself how to edit.
You use these things to do stupid pictures and also terrible face swaps.
Did you see the ones from last night?
Yes, I hate them.
Did you see the video?
Yeah, that's really creepy.
I actually realized I think I stole somebody's property and I returned it.
Oops.
Okay, here's a story. I'll tell you a story. Okay. It's good.
Okay.
So our upstairs neighbors are moving, and I get home yesterday and there are doll parts laying by near the dumpster in the back.
That's terrifying.
Like a head and like a doll body and like a bunch of limbs. And so I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And of course the first thing I do is like, I gotta grab my camera. And I like filmed a bunch. I just started filming it, and then I was like, wait a minute, who knows? I could use this. I'm trying to make a horror film. Who knows? I want to keep it.
Right.
So I took it in, and I was like, I washed it all off because it was all dirty from being in a garage.
Ugh.
But then I found out that the next upstairs neighbors, they have a clothing company, and they're moving out. And I think they had just taken it out of their garage.
Oh.
And I don't think they were leaving it out for people to take.
Oh.
Because I walked outside and they'd taken all the other body parts.
Oh.
I only had the head.
Oops.
And so like I was like, well, do I return the head? This is awkward.
Hi, I took your head.
So last night at 1 a.m. I'm sitting there like I could knock on the door and I heard them moving around at 1 in the morning.
Uh-huh.
Because they were like clearing out the final like pieces. So I was like, I could go up there. I could say, hey,
right.
I'm so sorry that took your,
hey,
here's your head. But then I was like, that's weird.
Mannequin head.
And I also washed it. And so there was water inside the head. So the eyes kept streaming tears. And I was like, so this is really weird that I would like hand in like a wet, dripping head.
A wet, crying head.
So I ended up walking outside. I was like, I'll just leave it where I found it. But they were out there, and I literally saw them walk into the garage, and I, like, sprinted and, like,
oh, no,
threw it down, and like, ran around the corner. And I was like, there, I've returned it.
That's so funny, Curt.
I don't know how we got onto that, but that was last night.
Yeah, because you do those freaking face swaps, and I hate them so much.
I think it's so weird.
hate it so much, and you did one last night, and it was terrifying with that doll head.
Oh, yeah, and, like, the eyes were moving.
Ah!
So great.
I hate it. So, we just did a show together.
We did.
Yeah, that was cool.
I just smudged this.
It's all ruined.
I know.
It's not at all. It's fine.
But yes, we did just do a show.
I like the gold with the red mug. That's really nice. Yeah, that's really... Ooh, that looks so good, Curt. See?
I'm excited to take it off.
You have a crafter within you.
Yes.
How was your Spies experience?
Oh, it was so good.
It. Wasn't it great?
I truthfully, I loved every minute of it.
I did too.
Except for Thursday night of Tech Week. I lost my
my
cool.
You did? I don't remember that whatsoever.
I did. When my beard fell off, I just about I was like... But besides
that beard was just a constant source of frustration for all parties. For all parties.
I loved it. That was like it came at the exact right time, I think.
It did for me as well. It very much.
I mean, I hope the audience loved it, and it's obviously for an audience, but being completely selfish, it just was exactly what I think I needed.
Yeah, me
creatively,
too.
Emotionally, mentally.
Me too.
It's just incredibly empowering.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think I was much of a singer. I feel like we all went, oh, we can do this, and things that I just didn't know.
And I'm really thankful to Joey and Corey and Brian for just being yeah, they can do this. They just asked us if we wanted to do it without ever making us, read or anything, which was really cool and really nice.
And it literally fulfilled a lifelong dream that I've had of getting to originate a role. I've been part of 4 or 5 workshops that there was so much talk of, we're going to turn it into something.
Right.
We record a demo, we record a song, or we do a trailer, and then just nothing
happened.
Ever happened. Ever. Yeah. And so when they first asked me, my first thought was, oh, nothing's going to happen. And then I was like, wait, oh, no, they're doing it.
Yeah.
It's not like a concept. It's we're just going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's exactly what I hoped. Because I kind of got really sick of theater. I did a lot of theater, and then I didn't. And then I did one more show here several years ago, and it was cool, but I just really had sort of I thought, lost that love. Sure. And then this kind of made me go, oh, wait a minute. This is something I love to do. And
now this character that you originated has your name. So
that's cool.
That's pretty bananas.
He's kind of a jerk.
He's kind of a bit of a dick.
But I hope people will find redemption in him.
But he's a fun character,
he is.
Sure.
Oh, no, that's great.
It was just so fun to be on stage again, for me at least, for the first time in so many years. And it was so cool that they asked me to play this character that's very unlike the characters I normally play, which was awesome. And
I think you, I never felt like I was really funny in the show because it's not designed that way.
I felt the same way.
but at the same time, I felt like you brought weight to it. That the show to me is exactly what my favorite kind of comedy is, where the premise is ridiculous
right
off the outset,
right,
but it can take these turns into surprisingly real and like.
Yep.
And I loved what you did with it, and I think you and Joey like both with the scene at the end with Owen, and then just your character throughout. I feel like I think if you hadn't have been in it, or if had somebody else had done it and had played it more like stereotypical, like I'm a Russian villain kind of person.
Right.
I think we needed that contrast, and you did such
thanks.
a wonderful job with it.
Thanks, that's very kind.
I loved working with you on stage every night. It was awesome.
Likewise. It's also, I mean, all that, a lot of credit goes to the guys for writing such a cool part, like, because normally the femme fatale character is pretty much just there to be eye candy. I mean, she'll probably, like, kick some butt and stuff, but, like...
Yeah, I thought this watching GoldenEye.
Yes, I remember you telling me.
And, you know, I enjoy the Bond films.
Sure.
I actually think maybe more Mission Impossible. It's actually...
I love Mission Impossible.
But, like, the female characters in that... There's Femke Janssen who plays, like, the villain, and she legitimately makes sex noises when she fights. That was, like... And I was like, that just reeks of, like, a bunch of guys at the table being like, hey, what if...
this be cool?
If while she's fighting, she sounds like she's having sex, which is just horrible. And the other woman, who's, like, the actual hero, legitimately every time something happens she falls over and James Bond scoops her up into his arms and like she just
yeah, right.
And that was 94, like that wasn't that long ago,
and it's
also
know? Current. I mean, we see that happen in movies now.
Yeah, so getting back to what you were saying, I loved what they did with it and what you did with it.
I also like didn't even realize until, well, spoilers ahead. I was like, oh yeah, I'm always saving him, like always.
Yeah, I love that. I think what I loved about the piece, just like material-wise, is I felt like they subverted like every...
I agree.
They played to every stereotype and then
agree.
like...
And turned it on its head.
Turned it on its head.
Which was so fun. But also within that, as you were saying in terms of like... the Spies Are Forever is very silly. 100% very silly. But in any silliness, there has to be seriousness to weight it down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that's always been important to me as an actor in anything I do, whether it's dramatic. If it's dramatic, find the funny in it, and if it's comedic, find the seriousness in it. Because without some sort of weight, comedies don't, like, they need that weight to be relatable.
Right.
Or they're just fluffy. And so...
I feel like a lot of... This is not a slight on anybody who does this, but, you know, I've done a lot of sketch comedy, and I worked with a few troupes and kind of groups here in LA, and that was the reason I always kind of felt very, I think, dissatisfied, is that it was either one of two things. It was just nothing weighted it. It was just fluff.
Right.
Which is like, why are we working so hard when it's literally we're saying nothing?
Right.
Or it was just incredibly mean and
dark,
very sexualized, like
interesting.
Just to be like, hey, we're being dark and gritty,
right?
Or we're like
without,
being
like,
super, but it was like
just for the sake of being dark and gritty.
Yeah, just making fun of people or stereotypes that just what you're like, this isn't funny. And I've always thought that the coolest, the funniest things are when you really believe that the characters are just really that. A real person.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when something weird happens to them or funny happens or they do something funny, you're with them because you're like, I know this person and this is funny, as opposed to like, I'm laughing at you.
Right.
Look how stupid you are. Or, you know.
Totally.
I love the way that you played her too, because I felt like you add a strength, but because Natalie Portman said this in an interview. She was talking about, there's a lot of discussion of playing this like strong female characters, which I think is important. But she said something that I love. She was like, I want to play humans.
Yeah.
She's like, I want to play, and this is not a topic I'm necessarily like I can speak with expertise on, but I just thought it was a beautiful sentiment of like, wait, I want to play like some people are strong, some are not.
Yeah.
Some are vulnerable, some are sexual, not. Some are not, some are platonic.
Right.
And I loved how you played her with, she was strong, but like, you still had vulnerability, but that didn't make her not strong. You know what I mean?
They just gave me a lot to play with, which was really fun. It was really fun to play a character that's very stoic for most of the time, and then find those moments where she does let her emotions come through.
Yeah.
And why. And again, just like that show is so full of over-the-top, bananas crazy characters.
Right.
I mean, our villain is like a Nazi man-child. And I think Brian plays him wonderfully, and I always found him very, like, believable and endearing, but at the same time formidable. And this is a guy who talks to a Hitler puppet. Like,
right.
What? But that just goes to show that, like, everybody did a very good job of, like, making these banana insane characters, but also weighting them and giving them humanity. Because if you don't have that, then it's not interesting.
And with the students I
silly.
work with, that I teach, I think that's one of the biggest things I try to say is I'm like, it can be the silliest thing, but if you really commit to it,
Yeah.
if you just show up and like give it 100% like emotional commitment, like people will buy into it. And I think
That's true.
my favorite thing about working with the cast was that nobody was like,
That's true.
everybody was like all in
All
the time.
Yeah.
I never felt like anybody was ever like, I don't know, guys, it feels stupid.
Yeah.
Everybody was like,
Yeah, that's true.
doing like whatever.
Yeah.
And that in a cast, I had never experienced that.
Really?
Usually there's a few people who are like, and
That's so
nobody
interesting.
was like that. Everybody just said, let's go in.
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah, you have to. It's just, you have to, or like, why are you doing it, you know? And you just sang beautifully and sounded
you.
amazing. It was so fun.
That was really, I think, really empowering because we talked about this. I think a lot of people assume that if you can, like, if you have ever sung publicly, that somehow you just feel so confident and that's like, you just love doing it.
Yeah.
And we both talked about this.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's...
Not totally true.
I think that maybe a lot of people in the show, our cast feels this way. I'm not
Sure.
speaking for anybody, but it's not a cast of singers, per se.
No.
Who anybody, I think, would say, oh, my main thing is singing. And
Right.
LA is a town with a lot of singers.
Yep.
Who like...
I saw a show a couple weeks ago that was great, but it was full of that. It was full of
riffing,
white
wailing.
girls just belting their face off. Nothing against white girls who can belt. I'm not necessarily one of I am a white girl. Can't really belt. And it's just like, okay, we get it. Like,
Right. What... I remember I saw...
have some artistry in your
I saw
singing a little
Ghost on Broadway.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why I saw Ghost on Broadway, but I did. It was like a cheap ticket.
Uh-huh.
And no offense to the show, it was the worst show I've ever
bit.
seen.
Ooh, really?
Because the only thing on display was vocal acrobatics. I remember
Yeah,
thinking,
and that's
why is this
not-
happening? Or I go to like shows in LA at like Hotel Cafe or something, and
Yeah.
it's like this just display of acrobatics, and I go, I feel nothing.
Yeah, same.
I feel nothing.
Same. And nothing
Right.
against people who can do that. I that is a skill that I do not have. But because of that, I don't normally get cast in roles where I am singing or doing this sort of thing. So it was really nice to have them sort of believe in us to be able to do that. And even then, it did give me a lot more confidence in terms of just I would come out and people would be like, you have such a beautiful voice. And I know my voice is different, and it's not that. It's not let me belt, you know, whatever for you and like blow your socks off. But I think maybe that's what was refreshing about it. Not just me, myself, but as a whole, is that like that's not what we were trying to do.
Yeah, and it was never it was never the goal. And I think for me, a lot of people I think assumed because of the Glee thing, people assumed that like I'm a singer. They're like, oh, you know Broadway, and you're gonna put an album. And singing has always terrified me.
Yeah.
And I've always hated my voice.
Same.
And so to do a show where I think I was able to, you know, I've done a lot of shows where I kind of fit into it, and it's like, oh, my voice blended in, so nobody really, it's like, whatever, it's fine.
Right.
But to do a show where I go, oh, wait a minute, this is actually, I discovered parts of my voice and expressing things as an actor with my voice that I didn't even know I could do.
Right.
That I went, wait, I can do that.
That's
That was a pretty empowering thing. I had never thought I could do that.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. I felt the same way, and it was really nice that they trusted us to do that. And I'm still like pretty nervous about it being online because
Me too.
People are they like to critique musical theater and whether they think somebody is a good singer or not.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm not a traditional voice in that way.
Same.
So I'm nervous.
I remember right after I did a solo on Glee, and it was great, but it was very random, and it opened up like right away doors to go to New York to audition for Broadway shows.
Really?
Which
Interesting.
I'm not going to complain about because that's amazing that you can do that. But
Sure.
I remember flying to New York and sitting in an office at an agency who I had kind of, my manager had like, hey, go meet with these people. Mm-hmm. And I got there and they were like, okay, so what's your musical theater book? And I just remember the panic I felt for 2 weeks in New York as like, he's like, you don't have a musical theater book? And I was like, no, I know these one or two songs. And he's like, learn this song from Next to Normal, learn this song and whatever. And then that night, he's like, you're going in for Newsies on Monday, and you're going in for Book of Mormon, and feeling this panic wash over me.
Yeah.
And sitting in an audition room in New York City at like Pearl Studios or something, and literally hearing, sneaking a peek at the resumes, hearing Carnegie Mellon, NYU grads go in and just belt and like Jeremy Jordan kind of voice people, and hear them and just literally have a sinking like rock in my stomach of going, I can't do that.
I don't do that.
And I'd walk in the room and I'd do the song and I'd literally see their faces kind of go, all right, thanks. Like, just like, and of course, because I wasn't this display that they just witnessed. So I was obviously second.
Right.
And that's not to like discredit myself. It's just that that's not what I do.
Right.
And I just remember leaving New York. Ugh. I've never felt more insecure or just more like going, I don't know, maybe I'm a joke. Maybe why do I tell people that I do this? Because I don't feel like I can do that.
The brave things in the old tales and songs, Mr. Frodo. Adventures, as I used to call them. I used to think they were things the wonderful folk of the stories went out and looked for because they wanted them. Because they were exciting and life was a bit dull. A kind of a sport, as you might say. But that's not the way of it with the tales that really mattered, or the ones that stay in the mind. Folk seem to have been just landed in them, usually. Their paths were laid that way, as you put it. But I expect they had lots of chances, like us, of turning back. Only they didn't. And if they had, we shouldn't know, because they'd have been forgotten. Thanks to Ed Powell for sponsoring this video.